I get it, you've been scrolling through a sea of microscopes, and the idea of spending a few $100 on a piece of equipment you'll only use a handful of times feels risky. I was in the same spot a few weeks ago, trying to help a buddy who does hobbyist metalworking and occasional jewelry casting decide whether a proper metallurgical microscope was worth the investment. He kept asking, "Will this actually let me see the grain structure without having to send samples to a lab? And what if I end up with a fancy toy that doesn't hold up when I need it for real work?" Those are the exact doubts that keep a lot of people up at night before they click add to cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The AmScope ME580T PZ2LR is marketed as an economical, feature-packed metallurgical microscope, and it does a surprising amount of work for its price tag. At first glance you might think the 500X label means you'll get massive magnification for detailed analysis, but the real story is how the optics and lighting combine to make that magnification useful. The system uses a planochromatic optical train, which is a fancy way of saying the lenses are corrected to keep the image flat across the whole field of view. In practice, that translates to crisp, undistorted views of metal microstructures, which is something you'll notice when you're trying to differentiate perlite from ferrite or looking for small inclusions in a forged part. What makes the ME580T stand out is the dual light source. You get a 30-watt polarized reflected illumination and a 20-watt transmitted illumination. Polarized reflected light is a game-changer when you're examining polished cross-sections of steel or copper. It reduces glare and enhances contrast, letting you see grain boundaries that would otherwise blend into the background. The transmitted light, on the other hand, is perfect for transparent specimens or for checking the quality of thin sections after polishing. In my own testing, swapping between the two was as easy as turning a knob, and I could instantly shift from a surface-only view to a view that highlighted internal features without having to move the sample or remount it. The mechanical stage is a double-layer design, which adds a little extra stability when you're doing fine adjustments. If you're used to the cheap hobby microscopes where the stage wobbles with each turn of the focus knob, you'll appreciate this sturdier feel. It also provides a decent travel range, meaning you can scan larger sample areas without constantly repositioning the slide. For someone who frequently looks at large grinding wheels or sizable alloy plates, that extra stage real estate saves a lot of time. Now, who should actually consider this microscope? If you're a student in a materials science program, a hobbyist metalworker, a small-scale jewelry caster, or even a homebrew electronics repair enthusiast who occasionally needs to inspect solder joints or PCB traces under higher magnification, the ME580T offers a balanced entry point. The trinocular head with a dedicated photo port is a nice touch because it lets you attach a camera without sacrificing the third eyepiece. That means you can capture images for reports, blog posts, or just to show a client what you found. The 500x maximum magnification is more than enough to see most microstructural features you'll encounter in everyday metal work, and the long working distance objectives let you keep the light source at a comfortable distance while still maintaining focus. On the flip side, if you're a professional metallurgist who needs to run high-throughput analysis on a daily basis, or you require ultra-high magnifications above 1000x for specialty research, this microscope might feel limiting. The optics are solid, but they're not designed for the sub-micron resolution that a dedicated research-grade instrument would provide. Also, while the dual light system is versatile, it doesn't include advanced features like automated focus stacking or built-in image analysis software. If you need those capabilities, you'll end up purchasing additional accessories that could push the total cost well beyond the initial price tag. One practical weakness I ran into was the learning curve around the polarized illumination. The polarizer needs to be correctly aligned with the sample's orientation to get the best contrast, and if you're new to metallography you might spend a few minutes fiddling before you see the improvement. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's worth noting that the plug-and-play experience isn't completely hands-off. Another point is the durability of the photo port's attachment. It's functional, but the coupling can feel a bit loose after repeated camera swaps, so you might want to invest in a more robust mounting solution if you plan to do a lot of imaging. In terms of day-to-day usability, the microscope is surprisingly compact for a trinocular system. It fits on a standard lab bench without hogging space, and the overall weight is manageable if you need to move it between workstations. The focus knobs have a smooth, tactile feel, giving you fine control when you're zeroing in on a grain boundary. I found that the combination of the long working distance objectives and the sturdy stage allowed me to keep the sample